Hey, everybody. How's it going? Stu Smith here, taking some questions if you have them. I am actually on YouTube as well as Instagram. So if you have questions, I'm actually looking for ideas to write about. I have a big list of some options that I may write about today. But if you're looking for something specific, let's ask it and I'll answer it online, but I'll also probably write about it later today, depending on which one it is. So happy to take some questions and see how I can help you guys, and you guys help me too. Grease the groove with Pavel. Hey, you know what? It's a way to work out. I always tell people I have a way to work out as well, not the way to work out. Try it, see if you like it. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, try something else. But I've never tried it personally. So I've read about it, understand it. Seems like it's a logical way to progress. Should you have a set mile swim time? I'm not sure what that question is. I would always recommend setting a goal of training to be a yard per second, whether you have a yard per second with fins or a yard per second without fins. So if you do the math, a yard per second is an 8-minute, 20-second swim for the 500. If you spread that out a little bit longer, you got yourself 1,000 meter, 1640, 1,500, add another 8 minutes to it. So you're looking at 24 minutes-ish, 25 minutes. And then do another 8 minutes of that. So you're getting like a 32, 2,000, which 2,000 yards is a nautical mile. That's how they will be tested out at Coronado. And you'll have to swim 4,000 yards, 2 nautical miles every week with scuba fins. And if you can get that in under 70 minutes, you're pretty solid. We typically try to push people in the 60 to 65 range. So there's a good goal for you. All right. Advice for getting in the gym after working 12 4-hour day. I'm wore out and can't get anything done. You know what I used to do on that one? That's a tough one. I used to work out before my long day, because I agree with you. It is tough to get something done. You just don't feel like it. Now, another option for you is to make sure you are eating well, so you have some fuel for the evening workout, if that's what you do. I've done it both ways over the years. I prefer morning workouts personally. So that's the way I do it anyway. So anyway, for you guys just coming on, I'm taking questions. Mainly, I'm looking for a really good question that I can write about. I'm kind of in a writer's block right now, and I have to write like a 1,000-word article today for military.com. Just looking for ideas. So I have a couple ideas right here, but they're just not flowing. Sometimes if I get to talking about a topic, it'll just flow and I'll write it in my head and get it done in half an hour. So it's kind of what I'm looking for. So I figure I'll invest about a half hour with you guys answering questions, and maybe you guys inspire me to write some articles. So that's what today is about. And I appreciate your questions because they do give me ideas to write about. All right. So here's a question from Theodore, 30 years old, trying out for an SF unit. Should I have more rest days? I don't feel like I recover as fast as I used to. Well, that's going to never get better as you age. So depends on what you mean by more. I don't think you need any more than one rest day at your age. But I would also consider adding in a mobility day in there as well. So a mobility day isn't a rest day. We do mobility days that last an hour and a half usually, where you do like a yoga class, you do non-impact cardio. You do stretching and foam rolling for 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off, and then go for a swim, do some treading water, do some drown proofing skills, things like that. And then all the dynamic stretches you can think of in chest deep water, and all that is really good way to loosen up and kind of have a recovery day in there for you. So that would be my recommendation. But yeah, you gotta prepare hard. Somebody emailed me about plantar fasciitis. Should I stop running to let it heal or train through it, rehabbing, stretching, icing? That's a really good question. I've done it both ways. I have had to stop running when I had it really badly, but then I've also had it just one other time where I refused to stop running. And what I did was I foam rolled the hell out of that thing just about every day with a lacrosse ball. Froze a can in the freezer and rolled it, with really cold can on my foot. Didn't do a whole lot of stretching. It was mostly, really pushing hard on that one little spot in the heel, and it went away. I did have some inserts for the first time when I stopped running. And to be honest with you, I would probably, in hindsight, still run on it. You have to warm it up a lot before you run on it. It's going to hurt again when you finish running. So make sure you're getting a good foam roll or massage on the bottom of that foot and hit those pressure points in there. But I wrote an article on it. In fact, you can Google Stu Smith plantar fasciitis, and you will see an article on that already. Let's see. I'm lifting during the winter during your Special Forces running program, combined with swimming in your Complete Guide to Navy SEAL Fitness. I like that. That's a good combo. Should I use the calisthenics from the Complete Guide or continue lifting? Well, it kind of depends, Shipley. It kind of depends on your current weakness, strengths and weaknesses. What I would typically do is this. I warm up with calisthenics, and then I lift heavy, and then I will run or swim afterwards. That's kind of what we're doing right now in my late fall, early winter lift cycle that we're doing today. In fact, today we did like a little push-up pyramid to warm up. Did a lot of bench, some knee ups, hanging knee up type stuff, military press. It was all push day. Tomorrow's going to be a leg and pull day. So we're going to do like deadlifts and pull-ups, things like that tomorrow, today. And then we ran just a little bit. I probably did about 20 minutes of cardio and then went for a swim afterwards. This afternoon, we're going to do another, depending on what you need to work on the most. It's either going to be a run, swim, or lift, or a combination of two of the three, depending on your weakness. That's kind of how we focus a second workout, is if you got a weakness and let's say you're trying to gain weight, get in the weight room, try to lift. Don't go running. If you need to get better at running, go for a run, but it's a short, fast run. So focusing on almost like 1.5 mile pace stuff. So maybe run 15, 20 minutes, but fast. That's how we do it in the winter, trying to maintain some of those speed gains for time to run events, but not overdoing it with crazy mileage either. Let's see what some other questions we got. What's the deal with not having 20/20 vision? I can still go to Buds if I get PRK surgery prior to enlisting. You should be able to go to the website, sealswick.com, and look at the vision requirements. They'll tell you what the deal is. There is a standard to get in. You got to meet that standard. And yes, you can get PRK to go in. All right. I'm on day 4 of the Ranger workout. So far, loving it. Having to adjust certain areas where I am a bit weaker, pull-ups and knee-ups, live in the city, any ruck adjustment, weights, etc. Yes, you're smart, making some adjustments. Any of these programs that I create, right? Any of these things that you get from me, they're not personalized programs. So you need to make some adjustments. Sometimes that adjustment is you don't have a pool, so you can't swim, or you have to replace that cardio with something else, or you can't do pull-ups at all, doing an easier version of the pull-up. That's smart. So for rucking, city rucking's no different than country rucking. A little bit different. I mean, but you can put on a weight and get after it. If you're looking for hills and if you live in a flat city, something I always used to do is run up and around stairs of buildings or parking garages. That was always fun. Little bit of carbon monoxide floating in the air, but as long as it wasn't a busy time of the day, you could get in there and actually breathe. Open parking garages are better, but yeah, find some hills. I think that's probably your best bet in the city. I would suggest rucking. I usually start off with about 25% of my body weight. So I'm 200-pound guy. I usually start off rucking about 40 pounds, 40, 50 pounds. That's kind of where I am. If you need to start off a little lighter, I would suggest that. Just depends on your ability and strength. Let's see. Other questions. How long did it take you to be able to hang with the best runners when preparing for buds? A very long time. It probably took me almost 2 years to be competitive. But remember, I was coming from a very power-centric training program with football, powerlifting, no running. I mean, if we ran, it was 100-meter runs. I mean, every now and then we'd run a mile, but that was our long distance. So yeah, it took me a while. Once I got in the Navy at the Naval Academy, then I started preparing like you should in the military. And it took some time. It took me a good year and a half, 2 years to really start getting my mile time down to a 6-minute mile pace. So sometimes it doesn't take that long. Like I said, I was just kind of a bigger guy that needed to lose some weight and get faster and turn a power lifter into a endurance guy. So it takes some time. So be patient. Going to MEPS tonight. Woo! Enjoy. All right. Let's see. What other questions we got here? Do you recommend calisthenics for a complete beginner? Absolutely. That's a really good question. You need to get some form of foundation under your belt, whether that is a cardio foundation, it is a strength and endurance foundation, whatever that is, you need to start somewhere. Calisthenics is a good place to start. However, there are 2 calisthenics that are really hard to do if you're a beginner: pull-ups and dips. Because if you think about it, that's your entire body weight getting thrown up on a pull-up bar or a dip bar. Whereas if you're doing push-ups, it's roughly about 40-45% of your body weight you're doing push-ups on. Still hard for some people. But yeah, I would definitely do that. And even if you have to go easier, maybe grab some suspension trainer like a TRX. Those can make pull-ups easier. Those can make push-ups harder. It's up to you how you want to do that. But yeah, take a look at the I wrote an article. It's a 5-part article called the PT progression. In fact, I'll put it in the description below on YouTube. And the PT progression, if you go PT progression, Stu Smith, and Google, you'll be able to find it. Like I said, it's a 5-part article series. Starts off with a pyramid, a superset, a max rep set. It's got some unique ways of adding other activities to it. And it's mostly all calisthenics. There's no weights in it whatsoever. So a lot of body weight stuff, everything from bear crawls to pull-ups. How much are dips a part of buds? Not much. I mean, you'll do them on your PT days on the grinder. Not that challenging. I mean, you may do sets of 30, 40, sometimes more. I would say we probably did dips maybe twice a week, if I recall. So it wasn't a whole lot. Sometimes 3 times a week. So it wasn't that bad. Advice on running in the cold. Yes. Should I just swim and lift during the winter? You know what? It's a good point. Sometimes that's what we do. We just swim and lift during the winter. However, what we will do is, especially at 6 a.m. when it's really cold, we'll do an indoor swim and lift inside. When it's icy and stuff, we may hit a ruck every now and then just to get out there and enjoy the snow or whatever. But we also run in the afternoon. So take, for instance, today we're meeting back at 1:30 and we'll probably go for like a 20-minute run when it's 55 degrees. A lot different than 26 degrees as it was this morning, or it wasn't quite that cold this morning, but was the other day. I think it was close to 40 today, maybe 38. Some guys ran. Some of my Army guys ran. Some of my Navy guys needed to swim. So kind of depends. Depends on what you're shooting for, really, to be honest with you. Let's see. Never understood about age limits. You know what? There's age limits and standards. I'm not sure. Not sure why that is, but I've seen older people get age waivers, and they make it through fine. So the age limits aren't something that's written in stone. You can always ask for an age waiver and see if you get one. So, all right, let's see. A couple more questions. Are your lifting programs percentage based? Yeah, to a degree. We try to do, like for instance, when we do a 5x5, we try to do 75, 80% of our 1 rep max for all 5 rounds of that. Sometimes that doesn't work. You got to drop it down a notch to get the reps. I'd prefer to get the reps versus not. So our percentages are adjustable, if that makes sense. I don't put percentages in my programs, but you can. So for instance, if I have a range of 5 reps for a bench press, for instance, my goal is for you to get those 5 reps in, pretty challenging weight. Don't make it so where you could do 20 of them and you only do 5. So you want to make it so where that 5th one is really challenging, not necessarily failing, but maybe in your later sets you can fail. And then we have absolute challenging ones where we actually do nothing but 1 reps until we fail, right? Or two reps until we fail at 1. Or we do a reverse pyramid, like a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, with each set getting heavier. So each one kind of depends. Depends on what we're doing, but there's multiple different ways to train like that. I tend to like a variety of them versus the same old workout, every day or every other day, or every week. So anyway, you'll see. Let's see. Let me see what's over here on Instagram. Any other questions? My shoulders externally rotate when I do snatch squats. What can I do to stop my shoulders from doing that? Tough question. I would definitely work on your opposing muscle groups whenever you can, and build some stability in your shoulders. So, I mean, think about all the muscles in your shoulders. You got the four sits muscles of the rotator cuff. You got, your deltoids, front and back. Then you got all these connectors back here that are going to be part of your shoulder stability as well. So you need to do a very well-rounded upper body training program. Everything from reverse flies, military presses, chest cables, um, some lightweight shoulder drills. I have this lightweight shoulder workout that works pretty well. That works on some stability. But I would talk to a physical therapist, to be honest with you, and actually get some good workouts that will help you prevent your shoulders from over rotating. Because that, having shoulders that are so flexible is a good thing in a way, depending on what sport you're in, but it can also be really bad when you are under extreme loads for a long period of time. So, good question. So, let's see. Vern asks about Jeff's hypertrophy program. Requires you to do pull-ups in between. Any advice if you've yet to reach one? Or if you can't do one pull-up, yeah, you could do a negative or do an easier version. Maybe get a band and do some pull-ups. Maybe do some pull downs in the weight room. You just have to find an easier version of that exercise to do it, because there may be, like in my workouts, I'll say, hey, you got to do 10 pull-ups. Well, what if you can only do 5? Well, I suggest do 5 and then try to do 5 more of an easier version, like 5 pull downs, 5 rows, 5 assisted pull-ups, 5, I don't necessarily recommend 5 negatives, because that gets really challenging. I usually try to limit my negatives to like 1 or 2 in a set, every other set maybe, but failing that many times in a workout, you'll feel it for probably a little bit too long. But yeah, get some good ones in there. What were my PR lists before I started training for Spec Ops? Let's see. We did a bench. I never broke 400 on bench. I got like 385, I think it was. So it was 2 times my body weight at the time. So I was like 190 and did, 380, 385, somewhere around there. That was probably my best one. I eventually got my squats and deadlifts up into the 400, almost 500 range on deadlifts. But I tell you what, I just didn't feel good. I mean, I liked lifting heavy, and those are hardly really super heavy weights, comparatively to, anybody who lifts in the really lifts. But they were strong enough for me, but I didn't feel right. I preferred having more calisthenics and cardio, have some muscle stamina, not get winded running up a flight of steps, not having my legs rub against each other when I ran. There were some issues, so I wanted to really focus on kind of mixing it all. So you still have some strength, body weight, maybe body weight and a half level type lifting, and high rep calisthenics, be able to do that, be able to run, be able to swim, be able to ruck, be able to crawl, be able to carry. So that's kind of where tactical fitness kind of came in. So, I didn't see a need to be great at powerlifting. I didn't see a need to be great at running marathons. So somewhere in the middle where you were capable of all of them, but just not, blowing the socks off of people in the weight room, but you can outwork them any day, if that makes sense. So that's kind of where tactical fitness has kind of evolved from all the other athletics, where you're just focusing on too much of one thing in sports versus trying to be good at all of them. So that's kind of where I've been for the last 20 years. Hadn't really worried too much about, if I'm going to run a marathon or if I'm going to lift 3 times my body weight off the floor. What time are your typical workouts in Severna Park? Once I graduate college, yeah, come train with us. If you go to stewsmith.com, STEW, smith.com, you will see a red link at the very top of the page, says free workouts. Click that and you will see our schedule. And then read it. Contact me before you show up, just in case we change things up due to weather or pool availability or things like that. So, all right, let's see what's going on here. Write about how to get over a mental block. Huh. Okay. Not a bad idea. Try to think of something on that one. Do you complete the run part of the PST in the winter on a treadmill? Yes, we still run in the winter. In fact, if you saw this right here, you would be shocked that there's about 12 to 15 miles per week of running, even in our lifting phase. So when I say we reduce our running from the summer, but it's still, sometimes 10, sometimes 12 miles, sometimes 15 miles, and it kind of progresses down as we lift a little more. So yes, we still run. We run indoors, we run outdoors. Luckily, we're in Maryland and it's not freezing ass cold either. So, it gets cold, but it doesn't last for very long, and we can be inside and outside too. Thanks you. So, Stu, I go to RAS next August. Good. I've been struggling with shin splints off and on. Can you give me any advice on recovery? I've written a couple articles on shin splints. I would suggest Googling them. But not just mine. Go to YouTube and look up, some physical therapists that have some great ideas for getting over shin splints. That's a tough one. It depends on your age. Sometimes you just get them because you're young and your bones haven't finished growing and, you're running on them too much. But it depends. So I would definitely do some research on getting that done. And if you can't find it on YouTube, go to an actual local, physical therapist. See if that helps you. Let's see. What does someone preparing for RASP versus BUDS look like? That's a good question. That might be a good one for Jeff and me to do a topic on, because the two are different. I actually have probably most of my guys who come train with me want to go to BUDS or do SWIC. We have a couple recon guys in the group. We have several in the Army SF pipeline and a couple Rangers as well. So we deal with that all the time. So basically my Army guys rarely even jump in the water. Usually we work out in the morning for an hour, and then at 7:15, an hour and 15 minutes later, we are swimming. My Army guys go for a run. They go for a ruck. They do something else that besides swimming. So your question was, what's it look like? Obviously ruck versus swim, but does the actual athlete look like what it is the bulk of each athlete's work? Okay, I'm sorry, I don't understand your English there, but I would say that yes, overall, you're probably going to need more of a foundation of lifting mixed with mileage, which is a tough combo sometimes. So you need to probably do that in 2 cycles. I would build a foundation of strength first so you can handle the added load bearing of rucking, and then do a standard progression of running before you start rucking. So there's a process to it that I wouldn't start rucking until you've built a good foundation of running. I wouldn't start rucking until you've built a good foundation that you can handle the weight, by doing deadlifts and squats and overhead carries and, things like that. Running with weight, maybe run with a sandbag a little bit before you actually put a backpack on, or run with a weight vest for a couple of months before you actually put on a ruck. That progression is a really smart progression, trying to get into that. But yes, my Army guys rarely even touch the water. They will only touch the water if their shins hurt or their knees hurt and they can't run. So we put them in the water as a non-impact activity. That's it. Every now and then we get a lot of Army guys that are preparing for dive school. Then we actually put them in the water. That's a different story. So, okay, let's see. A couple more. I've gone for 30 minutes and I got to get to writing. Let's see. Currently losing weight for buds and was wondering if taking creatine would do the opposite. I don't think you need it. You can't use it at buds. So, just eat healthy. Don't get hooked on any supplements that you can't have while you're at buds. I don't necessarily think it will help you. No. Slipping rib syndrome. I have not heard of that. Sounds awful. Yeah, I would agree that creatine you will retain water, so probably won't be losing weight. Okay, last question. I'll do one last question from Instagram, one last from YouTube here. How much is appropriate distance to cycle for stamina? I don't know. Depends on your goals. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to run a marathon, or are you trying to run a 1.5 mile timed run? How do you define stamina? Okay. What's my favorite article I've ever written or read? Good question. I'll have to think on that one. I like that, though. I would say probably my favorite article. I've done a couple on mental toughness that I liked a lot. That was pretty good. You Google Stu Smith mental toughness article, probably like 5 articles I've written on them, but there's a couple in there that I really like the 5 stages of it. But then I would say for just useful information, the PST clinic is really good. It walks you through the swim, the push-ups, the sit-ups, the pull-ups, the 1.5 miles, not only how to train for it, but how to strategize taking the test. I would say the PST clinic is probably one of my favorites to send out to people, because I get a lot of people saying, I haven't started training for the PST. Where do I start? I said, well, first of all, read this. There you go. So I'm going to shut it down here. Thank you for your questions. If you would like, this only lasts a day over on Instagram. So on my YouTube channel, I will post it as a video. If you have more questions, please feel free to ask questions in the comment section. I do get to those in YouTube, or you can just email me, stu@stusmith.com. Check out Stu Smith Fitness, the article section there. You'll see the PFT clinic. You'll see a whole bunch of other articles in there as well that I really focus on prepping for a variety of spec ops and military, law enforcement, firefighter training programs. So, all right. So there we go. Hey, thanks for your time. Thanks for some ideas. I think I got a couple I'm going to try to run with today and see what happens. So you guys have a good week and keep getting after it. We'll see you.